Afternoon, guys. So I forgot to end the video yesterday. I actually haven't put it together yet today. That's why you guys seen it so late. Being that it's already 1 o'clock. So I'm going to do that real quick as soon as I get finished here. Just finished doing my pre-trip. Went and picked up some water and stuff. Got here last night, 8:30, 8:40. 8:35. There you go. We have roughly 330 miles to go. Probably going to stop about an hour out. Thinking the Loves in Ohio, and then basically I'm going over to Cleveland to make that delivery. So there it is. I gotta readjust my suicide now. The comes with a little rubber thing that goes underneath of it, I guess, to prevent it from sliding, and that rubber strip is actually sliding out, so I gotta pull it off and redo it, which I'll probably have to peel the steering wheel cover off if I can get it off. Things aren't the easiest. I don't need it off, I just need it out of my way. There we go. So anyway, we gotta go just down the road here to the Petro and going to get some fuel. That could have sucked. I don't use the Petro very much. I pretty much boycott them because of their bullshit, their greediness with their reserve parking. Which I found out yesterday, you can't even use your points for the reserve parking. Of course, that was from another driver, so that could have been just that one place that was being retarded. But he said he had to pay cash. I'm sure it was, cash or credit, but couldn't use your points for it, which is bullshit. But like Pilot Flying J, they're not. I was gonna do a separate video on this, but I'll just say it now. My whole thing with the reserve parking, to a point, it's good, it's cool. It's nice to have every now and again. You're gonna get somewhere at 3 o'clock in the morning, or 8 o'clock at night, and you're gonna need a parking spot. See that? It's all for me twisting it and everything. I needed to put it back in where it needs to be. But this is my opinion on it. The reserve parking, the way I look at it, is it's convenient for those that are willing to reserve that parking spot and have a parking spot to reserve because they know they're going to get done late. You guys have seen that I will sit around and wait 45 minutes for a parking spot. There's been times where I'm not willing to wait any longer, and I just say screw it, and I actually go inside and I pay for it. Which Pilot Flying J, they set it up where you can do the prime parking on the app now. But I would go inside and get the reserve parking done that way. Just because I didn't want to wait for somebody to pull out at 10 o'clock at night. I just had enough for that day and I wanted to go to bed. But when it comes down to TA and Petro, which I don't think it's all of them, because I think some of them are still basically mom and pop places. So they're not all underneath the same criteria as far as the parking situation goes. Because I know, like the Petro over here in Waterloo, they have reserved parking, but they don't have nearly as much as other ones. For instance, the one down in Montgomery, New York, I looked at that one not too long ago, and there was, I think there's like 150 spots altogether, and it was either 90 or 70 or 90 of those parking spots were reserved parking. Where, you know, Pilot Flying J, I'm fine with them because they have like 5, you know, 10 at the most in a big parking lot. But when you got more than 50% of your parking spots that are reserved, you can't use your fuel points towards the parking. And then on top of it, the lots that are already paid parking, you still have to pay to reserve a parking spot. So even if you got the 50 gallons to get free parking, you have a 50% chance that you're going to have to pay for the parking spot. Which is basically why I'm boycotting in a somewhat fashion, boycotting TA Petro. I use them if I absolutely need them. Like yesterday, I forgot to get fuel at the Love's over in the beginning of New York. I could have stopped about 10 minutes after that and got fuel at the Pilot, but at that point, TA and Love's is my cheapest fuel at the moment. So that was mainly the main reason I didn't stop at them. So right now I'm basically just trying to deal with Love's. So I might have to run down to Waterloo here and I'll grab 50 gallons. I'll probably do 60 gallons just so I have a shower credit with them if I need one. But that's the only time I use TA and Petro anymore, is if I absolutely need them. And I have nowhere else to go. Or I need them, you know, I need that fuel just to move on to the next one. Yesterday when I passed up the Love's unintentionally, I could have waited went an extra 15 miles out of my way to go back to the Love's, but it made no sense. So I rather just, I mean, I got a quarter of a tank now, so that's about 50 gallons. So 50 gallons at 5 miles to the gallon, it's 250 miles. I'll need a little extra fuel to get to the Love's over there in Ohio. I definitely get more than 5 miles to the gallon. I just stick with that number so that I stay in the safe zone. I'm getting over 6 miles to the gallon, about 6.5. My last trip I got over 8 miles, right around 8 miles to the gallon. On this one, oh, all right. So within the last 120 gallons used, I've averaged 7.79 miles to the gallon. That's from last trip and this trip. 300 miles into this trip. So it's still not bad. I'm getting well over 7.5 between the two of them. So 5 miles to the gallon is being very cautious, which I'd rather stay there. That's what I even when I do my advances for how much money I need for my fuel, I do 5 miles to the gallon. So basically I take my how many miles are on my trip around it. Generally to the closest 25. So if it's 655 miles, I'll round it to 650. If it's 665, I'll round it up to 675. I'll divide that by 5. I'll times it by $3 to the gallon, which I don't. We're all paying more than that right now at the pump. But by the time my discount comes in, it's usually less than $3 to the gallon. So I just throw in $3 a gallon, and then I end up with my advance. And then again, my advance goes to the nearest 10. So that's how I do that. That's why I boycott TA Petro. And I have a couple more turns of these screws, and we are out of here. I have one more thing I got to do today, and that's put another license plate light in. I neglect that thing so bad. I went freaking 3 months without it working. Fixed it. It went out 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks later. And now I've been neglecting it for probably about a month. Not neglecting that it's bad, just keep forgetting to freaking fix it. So every time I walk to the back of the trailer during my pre-trip, son of a bitch. So anyway, that's it for now. We're gonna get rolling. See what happens. Have a day without Moe's. Can't resist it. Every time I drive by, I gotta stop. So after I pay off my truck, I think that's what I'm gonna look into getting at 9900 International. It's kind of a toss-up between the 9900 International and I don't care if it's a classic or not, but the same, you know, the long nose Freightliner, the FLD or the classic. I'm leaning more towards the 9900. My dream truck's always been the W900. But my problem with the W900 or 379 or anything along them models is, you know, that big long hood looks really nice. The sleepers aren't usually too bad. Peterbilt has definitely got a nice sleeper. I love the bed in the W900, the couch, if you will, as long as it has the couch. But I hate the cabs. I hate that, you know, it's so narrow between the seats. You're just so cramped. And, you know, with the Freightliner, you get that nice long hood on there. It's a good looking truck. I'm not really crazy about the high-rise sleepers on them. You know, definitely a mid-roof sleeper. Or something like this International. The hood's not extremely long, but it's nice and tall. It's big. It stands out there nice. It's got a nice setup for the cab, and then the sleepers are a pretty good size. I only had one International like that. It was a 9400. If I can, I'll see if I can find the picture. I'll put it up here. But I had a 9400, real nice blue one. It was an old SMX truck when I was with Western Express. That was a really nice International. It just didn't have the higher hood, but it was still a really nice truck. I liked that truck better than I liked the I'm gonna say I think I liked that truck better than the Peterbilt, the 379 at TMC. The 379 was a nice truck. It was a short nose, or a regular nose, whatever you want to call it, and it was a good looking truck, but again, it had the tight cab. You know, a really nice looking truck. So, you know, I can't argue that point. I wouldn't say that I would definitely say it was better looking than the International, but I think I like driving the International better. And I think having the 9900, I think all 99s are the Eagles, but maybe, I'm not really sure about that part. I haven't followed International enough to know that much. But I know I definitely don't like the day cab Internationals. I drove, when I did local for a couple of years, I had a 94 International day cab, and I hated those things with the passion. And that was just because I was so stuck up to the dashboard. And that was the only thing I really hated about them. They drove pretty nice. They had good power. The biggest problem was I just didn't have enough space. I mean, I was right up to the steering wheel, and big old steering wheel in the thing. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Hopefully, once I pay this off, I'm going to an older truck. Something newer than 2000. So I'm kind of looking between 2000 and 2007 for a 9900, I think. 9900 or FLD Classic, whichever one it is. So anyway, we're going to get rolling. We got another 155 miles to our destination, stopping in let's see, 95 miles as the bird flies, and it's 99 miles. So 99 miles to the Loves, which leaves me 57 miles for tomorrow. I think that's what I'm going to do, mainly because I can grab a shower there, I have a bathroom there. The only other place for me to stop is Pilot Flying J, and then I think maybe a rest area or two. I'm not going to the destination because I'm not going to take a chance on not being able to sleep at this job site, which is, you know, some type of a factory. I haven't looked into it anymore since yesterday. So that's it for now. Like I said, 99 miles, and so it's official. I am sweating my butt off, and my truck is a mess. However, we have power. So that's freaking great news. Now I just got to go buy my refrigerator. Go buy my refrigerator, get that in here. And I'm also going to get a voltage output or wattage output meter that I can plug in with the refrigerator just to see how much power it's actually using. Not in its initial cool down, but once it's cooled down and how much power it's using when it kicks on to, you know, keep it cold, and see how much power I'm actually draining. I don't think I'm going to keep this inverter. I've had this since I started at US Express. I haven't used it very much, but I have had it that long. I pretty much used it at US Express for the 7 months that I worked there. Seven or 8 months that I worked there. Let's see, after US, I went to CRST, Schneider, and now Mercer. So yeah, I've only used it at US Express. No, I'm lying. I used it at CRST, so I used it for a year at CRST. There was wires that was already installed in the truck, and I just had to hook them up to the inverter. The wire hookup, that was a freaking joke and a half. First, I used plastic and wood bits to drill a hole. I didn't realize until after. I didn't even realize. My son pointed it out to me that it was for plastic and wood. So I'm sitting there for an hour trying to drill a hole, and I'm using the wrong bits. Drilling that through there, and then right here, for the first hole I drilled through, I don't think that was metal, and if it was just really thin, because it went through that. No, it was metal. It just went. I think it was just because it was really thin, because it went through really fast. But you can't really tell in this picture here. I took rubber gasket, whatever the heck you want to call them, little rubber things for the airlines, and I put the wires through them, and I ran it up into that hole there and sat it in that hole. The other one that I need to do, this top hole that I drilled here, all I'm going to do is take a bunch of silicone when I get back home, and I'm going to completely cover that hole in silicone. The inverter, I think I'm going to upgrade the inverter to one of the 2,000 watt inverters, the Bluetooth ones. So I have it hooked up to my phone. I can turn it on, turn it off, whatever. It just isn't a huge deal because it's going to be right here. I think I'm going to mount it to the cabinet. I'm possibly just going to say screw it, cut the wires, and mount it behind the driver's seat. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to leave it right where it's at. I'm just going to mount it right to the cabinet there. But that said, gonna get this truck cleaned up, and go take a shower, and then go to bed. I've been here for...
You have 6 hours and 5 minutes of remaining drive time.
I got here at 6:42, I think. That sounds about right. I fueled up as soon as I got here. That was about 7-8 minutes that I put on there, right? And I went off duty at 18:49. So 6:49 I went off, and so I've been off duty for 3 hours. I'm a minute, a couple seconds away from 3 hours. Haven't been working on it that long. I've only been working on this for probably the last half an hour. And all I really had to do with this was, I still have extras. I had to take these lugs, these battery copper lugs. I had 2 different brands. The other one, the one expensive brand I hooked up to the inverter side, and then this brand I hooked up down on the battery because it didn't really matter. Those ones are a little more flatter. These ones have a little more curve to them. But they were like $2 difference in price. So now all I had to do with them, I had to strip the wire back a little bit, and then I just tighten up my vice grips a little bit, and then I just squeezed down on them as hard as I could, and just crimped them right to it, and that was it. Hooked it up to the battery. I had to zip tie the wires down there by the battery a little bit, just so that I can put the battery cover back over top without having any problems. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that, make sure the wires don't go up or anything, because they get up near the AC lines, and those AC lines get pretty hot, so I don't want them melting through the coating and then grounding that out and causing a fire or something. I'm not very thrilled on the way I ran the wires, so I may in the future rerun them. We'll see how it goes. Or I might just end up leaving it the way it is, as long as everything runs fine. I think that's it. Alright, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and we will see you tomorrow. Only 50... Get this out of the way real quick. I'll say it again in the morning. 58 miles away from the delivery. We'll get out of here probably about 7:30. Get over there about 8:30. And we'll get this thing unloaded. I don't have anything set up for tomorrow yet, but I'm going to be hitting the load board here after I take a shower and see what's available on there and see if I can make a game plan. If not, I'll just wait for tomorrow morning. If there's nothing right now, I'll wait till tomorrow morning, see if anything else is better. There's some loads running over to New York, but that puts me there for Friday morning. I'd rather try to run somewhere short hop down to, you know, Kentucky or something, and then grab something paying really good going up to Northeast on Friday, and then, you know, get home Friday night and then leave out Sunday or something along them lines. We'll see what happens. Anyway, see you guys.